Good day and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the voice of reason. In today's coverage of the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia, we are starting to receive more reports of possible drone use inside of the Civil War, within the context of the Civil War taking place. Specifically, there has been some recent evidence in the form of remnants of munitions that have been utilized inside of the northern Amhara region, in the vicinity of Kobo and down south towards Mersa, that would indicate the possible use of Turkish-made precision-guided munitions. And specifically, these would appear to be the MAML munition that was widely used during the Azeri-Armenian Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. So if this is in fact the case, that these drones are in fact being utilized, which would indicate the TB2 drone, the Tango Bravo 2 Turkish drone, in conjunction with the use of the MAML munition, the micro munition. It's about half the size of a Hellfire missile, but still a very effective munition, precision guided munition that is slaved to the advanced optic system with the forward-looking infrared that the drone possesses. So in terms of its capability, yes, it is a very capable system. It does not bode well for the Tigrayan Defense Forces. It is an asset that will obviously hinder some activity, and it is an asset that will it definitely cause casualties within the ranks of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Now, is this going to change the course of the conflict? No, it will not. Not unless we see 10 to 20 of these drones in the air at all times. So in the case of the conflict that took place in Nagorno-Karabakh between the Azeris and the Armenians, so first and foremost, the area of conflict was much smaller. Okay, so if we bring up the map and we just try to get a look in terms of the area of conflict from let's say Sushi on over to where the drones were deployed and coming out of, you're looking at really a 40-mile distance that the drones had to fly to get to targets. Compounding that, there were a lot of other assets being utilized as well during this campaign by the Azeris. They were directly supported by Turkish forces on the ground. There were Turkish special forces on the ground. And the amount of drones that were being utilized could be counted possibly in the hundreds. And this is just not the TB2 drones. Other drones were used as well. The kamikaze drone that the Israelis supplied the Azeris. There was a whole host of drones that the Azeris were using. And the amount of drones being utilized, they were always in the air. And not just one or two drones, there were dozens of drones being utilized against the Azeris. So that is what changed the balance of that conflict and the compactness of the conflict as well. The distances in which the forces were engaged were much smaller than what we're seeing inside of the conflict that's taking place in the Amhara region and to some extent the Tigray region. So again, you're looking at a much greater front if we go from east of Weldia all the way up to north of Dabark. You're looking at least 182 miles. So again, a much larger scope in terms of the area that the conflict encompasses, but at the same time, a lot less drones are going to be utilized as well, if in fact these drones are being used, the TB2 drone. So on the surface, it would look like no more than a half a dozen drones have been deployed, and depending on how many munitions were purchased from the Turkish state, that is also going to become a factor as well, because again, these missiles and these drones are expensive systems, and depending on the amount that was purchased would obviously regulate how many are being utilized, because you just don't want to use drones, or you don't want to use the munitions on targets that you are unsure of. But again, a bit different. Do not associate the outcome of the conflict that occurred between Armenia and the Azeris with the conflict between the Ethiopian state, the Amhara militias, and the Tigrayan defense forces. A lot different. There's other factors that were thrown into the equation of that conflict. Again, a lot more money. The Azeris spent billions and billions and billions of dollars on its defense apparatus that was used in the attack on Nagorno-Karabakh. The Ethiopian state simply does not have those kinds of funds. $500 million, $500 million is basically the defense budget of the Ethiopian state. The economy is withering. It doesn't have the ability to shell out massive amounts of oil revenues, to purchase dozens and dozens and dozens of drones, and not just drones. You have to understand, again, the Azeris were using a wide spectrum of other weapon systems as well, very heavy advanced weapon systems from a multitude of countries, Israel, even Russia, a whole host of nation states had provided weapon systems to the Azeris. Now, we're not seeing that, but we are seeing the drone use, the possible drone use inside of this conflict in terms of the TB2 drone. So, and again, it depends on how many of these are actually being used, how much was purchased, and the amount of weapon munitions, the MAML precision guided munition, that will also become a factor as well. Is it going to cause challenges for the Tigrayan defense forces? Yes, absolutely. It is a very potent weapon system that has incredibly good optics with a very, very precise aim point in terms of that munition that's being used. Now, with that being said, other operations are underway inside of the Amhara region. We are continuing to see fairly significant operations going on north of Desai, and we are also seeing operations going on in an area along the B-22 highway west of Gashina by the Tigrayan Defense Forces, and we continue to see operations now inside of the Afar region, ranging from newly captured Abala up north to Berhalet. So a very, very active situation right now. Again, yes, the drone use is a factor. Will it cause a change in the conflict with the current amount that are being used? Probably not. But we will stand by and we will continue to monitor the situation and report on events inside of the battlefield itself. Now, the political situation that is ongoing inside of Ethiopia. The Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has, for all intents and purposes, re-anointed himself for another 5-year term. If he is not dethroned and physically removed from office in some way, you can expect, or the change in the battlefield situation removes him as well, you can expect that he will remain in office in perpetuity. So again, there is no real democratic process inside of Ethiopia. The Prime Minister's office, the Prosperity Party, took upon itself and within its powers to arrest most opposition figures and declare many political parties as terrorist entities. So, for example, inside the United States, that would be the same as the Democratic Party declaring the Republican Party a terrorist organization and arresting many of its leaders, and then having a sort of a vote. And that really didn't happen anyway, because a lot of areas simply could not vote because of the security situation on the ground inside of Ethiopia. So for all intents and purposes, Abiy Ahmed is now a despotic dictator of the remnants of the Ethiopian state. Whatever areas inside of what used to be Ethiopia still follow the Prosperity Party. Again, I really define that as a area inside of the Amhara region, and then obviously the city-state known as Addis Ababa. But outside of that, it is no longer what would be defined as Ethiopia. We will continue to monitor the situation and report as events warrant. Have a great day, everyone.